Easy daf today, Baruch Hashem, and some kesha to learning Torah also coming up Erev Shavuos. Mostly I got it easy daf today. So we're on Lamed Daled Amud Beis Mishnah, and so far the Mishnah spoke about the first Tvila, which was into the big day Zahav, and then it was the Avodas Hatamid. Then we had Agav about the details of the Avodas Hatamid. And now we go on to the second Tvila. Then they brought it to Beis Aparva. We said that was all the Tvilas besides the first one have to be in a Makom Kodesh. There was a drash for it before, and that's what it says now. They brought it to the Beis Aparva. That's on the roof. The way he went there, it says before that he had to go through the Pishkas Hamadichin in order to get there, the spiral staircase over there, and that was ready in the Kodesh. They spread out a linen sheet between him and the people. That should be the partition when he's going to immerse. Kiddush Adav V'Raglav, Upashat, Ramei Omer Pashat, Kiddush Adav V'Raglav. So we had this Machlokes already before. It's going to be each time that when he gets undressed, does he do Kiddush Adav V'Raglav before he gets undressed or after? So all the Machlokes that Rabbanan, that's why he paskin that he's Mekadesh Adav V'Raglav always while he's dressed. And the Gemara said that's on the Pshita, that he's doing it on the clothing that he's taking it off. So that's why he does the Kiddush Adav V'Raglav while he's still dressed. Ramei says no, that first he undresses, and the Kiddush Adav V'Raglav is going to be for the upcoming Levisha. So that's Machlokas, and it goes throughout. We had the Machlokas before by the first time that he took off the mundane clothing. So then Rabbanan said that he doesn't do Kiddush Adav V'Raglav because that's mundane clothing. Rabbi says yes, he does, because after he takes off the clothing, then he's doing the Kiddush Adav V'Raglav and the Tvila, then he gets dressed, and then Kiddush Adav V'Raglav again. Both Kiddush Adav V'Raglav is for the Levisha that he's going to do. So
I do have a picture. I mean, it's not that consequential, but I have a picture of them spreading the sheet over the door.
Okay. Please do.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, good. I don't know that it's just a door, and I don't know. This is speculation. It was the Gag Beis Aparva, and it could be the mikvah. Could be the sheet was to make the whole separation, not just the doorway. If they had a doorway, they could have had a door already. So I question that the whole thing was open.
Or you're saying that the Beis Aparva may have been like an open wall, like three walls, and
made as if there's another room on top, like a second floor. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like there was a bottom floor. Like they have the three rooms. You can see on the bottom that there are three rooms over there. Lishkas Aparva, Lishkas Hamadich.
I see. This whole thing is the Beis Aparva. It could have just had this fence, and that would have been enough.
Fence, just to have a mic or something like that. But it was a gag. It calls it the gag Beis Aparva. So I don't think there was another room over there.
I see.
And the sheet would be the sheet that would separate, would cover the whole. That would be the
mechitza. Yeah.
The whole thing. Yeah, I don't think that had just a doorway. Okay.
Very good. Okay.
I think that the person who read it says Havila Beis Aparva, but really the text goes. We had earlier there was a gag on the gag Beis Aparvas. Here it just says Beis Aparva, but we know from another place that it was the gag Beis Aparva, was on the rooftop, so it's called a roof. It's not called a bias. Okay, so what do we say here? That they spread out the sheet, and that was the partition, and then we can machlokas if it was undressed or not, and then Yarad v'Tova Lola ben Estapag, he immersed, and then he came up and dried himself. So the drying, again, I never know why it ever says it, because it's not halacha. Of course he dries himself. It doesn't seem to be any halachic implication over there. So I don't know. It's always used as in the Mishnah. It always says that, not only by the Kohen Gadol, other places also. So it's always a mystery to me why it says the word v'nestapag. Okay. Big day Lavan. Now he put on the white clothing. Means the first time the tefillah we shown, he did it for the golden clothing, and that was for the avodas hatamid. Now he's putting on the white clothing, which is going to be the avodas Yom Kippur. Now he's going to start. Once he's in this clothing, he's going to be doing the avodah that's dedicated to Parshas Achrimos. Lavash v'kiddush adav v'raglav, and then he got dressed in these clothing, and then he was kiddush adav v'raglav. Means everybody, even our mayor, holds that when he's getting dressed, he doesn't do kiddush adav v'raglav until after he's dressed. And the first thing was a machlokus when he's getting undressed, or when he's getting dressed with the new clothing. Everybody holds that first he got dressed, and then he was kiddush adav v'raglav. The Mishnah says, "B'shacha yelobesh plusin shel shnei masamana ben arbaim hindivin shel shmona meos zuz divi Ravi Meir." So we know, as we learned in the sugi before, that there are two times that he's going to wear white clothing. First for the avodah Yom Kippur, then there's going to be in the big day zahav, and the golden clothing is going to be the elo ba'ilham. Then he's going to change again into white clothing, and that's going to be for taking out the kafu machta from the kodesh hakadoshim. We said in the pasuk you don't see that. In the pasuk there's no hint come out. Only in the drash. That's not even in a remez. It says that the only way we know it is because of the halach l'Moshe Sinai that it has to be 5 tevilos and 10 kedushin. So that's how we know that they have to make the pasuk out of order. So there's no remez in the pasuk that there were 2 changes of clothing, that 2 times you have to wear it, but we know it already that he has to, it's going to be gold, white, gold, white, gold. So there are 2 different whites. But now we're learning not only does he just get undressed and dressed into the same clothing again, but the white clothing with 2 different sets of clothing, and the first one is more expensive than the second. And by the golden clothing was the same golden clothing the whole time. That was his regular set of clothing for the big day kuna. But by the in Kippur clothing, he had 2 sets of white, and he used each one only once. Here it says b'shachar. So Meir says that the price of the morning one, the one they did avoda, was more expensive than the one of the afternoon, which is for taking out the kafu machta from the kodesh hakadoshim. And it says the first one was worth 12 mana. A mana, just to give a little idea of how much this money, how much buying power this money is. I think that a mana is 100 zuz. Masayim zuz is how much a regular person for a year's room and board, so to speak, a year's support. That's how much a ksuba is, a masayim zuz. So here it says that it was 12. It's like 6 years. 6 years. If I'm making my cheshbon is right. If it says that 12, it's like 600. 1200. 1200 is 6 years. 6 years. 6 years room and board. That's how much. It's very expensive. So the Gemara says plusin. Plusin. It says on the side by the Bach brings out that it's Ramses. It was Egyptian linen and very, very expensive. And in the afternoon, Ben Arbayim, the second time that he's going to put on the clothing in order to take out the kafa machta from the kodesh hakadosh, and then it wasn't so expensive, also very expensive. Hindivin sounds, Rashi says it means from Ethiopia, of Kush. I guess we would translate it like Hindu, like India. So Rabbi Meir says that it was 12 and 8. Altogether it was 20, 12 mana or 1200 zuz in the morning, and 800 zuz or 8 mana you could call it is for the second time that he wore the white clothing. So Rabbanan argue, Meir says no, it has to be more expensive. The morning one was 18, and the second one was 12, altogether 30 mana. So extraordinarily expensive. Elu Mishal Tzibur. This is the money that the Tzibur paid for. Then most of Mishal, if you want to make it even more expensive, he can bring his own money. He can add on his own personal money to make it more expensive. But this is how much the Tzibur gave. According to Rabbi Meir, altogether 20 mana divided 12 and 8, and according to Rabbanan, altogether 30 mana divided 18 and 12. I once saw an article about the ancient Egyptian linen, and in they talk about how extraordinarily expensive it was. I don't have the article with me. I don't know if nowadays they can make such expensive. I don't know if they made by hand, then it will be so perfect. So that was so the linen itself grows. That linen, maybe the different qualities of linen also, but probably also the wisdom of the art of how to make it. If anybody has any comments, please feel free.
There's linen tablecloths that are beautiful, and they go for
big prices. Okay, but here you're talking about
Right.
Okay, the Gemara says my parva. It says lishkas beis parva. So we never spoke about it. Why is it called parva? Nowadays, parva, we think parv. It's became a Yiddish word of neutral, something that's not. But it doesn't mean that. My parva, not dairy, but it doesn't mean that. Rav Yosef parva amgusha. So Rashi says that parva is somebody's name. It's a personal name, and the word amgusha means a sorcerer, machashev, and doesn't say much more about him. And Rashi says he's the one who built. He built this lishka. So we don't know the history. What's he doing building a chamber in the base of Mikdash? Like, why should that be? It's one of the chambers was built by a machashev, and they gave him the covet of giving his name. So, I don't know. Taisus brings down over here, Ben Hananel, they bring down from the Aruch over here. This Taisus over here, Pirush Baruch, that some say that he had wanted to see the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur doing the avoda, and no one's allowed to be inside. So he dug a tunnel in order to be able to see the avoda of the Kohen Gadol. And they caught him. I still don't know why he got the honor of that they called it by his name, but he wanted to see the Kohen Gadol doing the avoda in the Heichal, maybe the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and he was tunneling it under before. I guess they made the tunnel in order to be able to see it on Yom Kippur, and they found him, and what? It doesn't say what happened. But I still don't understand why they gave him the covet of calling it on his name. But that's what the Gemara says, that he's an Amgusha, he's a sorcerer, and this lishka is called lishkas beis parva.
Was he Jewish?
Was he Jewish? I guess. I don't know. It depends where the tunnel came from. Means if the base of if the base of Parva, we know the base of Parva wasn't in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So I thought, or maybe I wasn't thinking, but I thought that it started over here and he was going to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim or into the Heichel. But if he's saying that he came from outside, he was like, well, that's coming from. If he would go, he couldn't get inside. He couldn't get the Lishkas base of Parva. But if he was outside, so then maybe they found him over there. According to your shot, that he was coming from outside, he wanted to tunnel from far away. So maybe that's what they found him over there. And this was based upon, he was on his way to tunnel deeper into the base of Kodesh HaKadoshim or the Heichel. So everything, if anybody has any inside information, I don't know. Let's see what.
That's some big tunnel.
Yes, I don't know. I really don't know.
Excuse me, I don't understand where the story is. I thought you were saying it's in Rashi, but Rashi's very short.
I said in Tosfos. I scrolled up to Tosfos over here. Tosfos brings Parva, Amrusha, and he quotes the Aruch, and Rebbe Hanan also says the same story.
Down,
So,
even down at the bottom of
yes,
the
please.
page. I see. Oh, thank you. Okay, I didn't see it.
Yes, please.
What did he do?
Rabbi Manuel, you started speaking? No? Oh, no, I thought, 1 second. Are you there? We're not hearing you. If you're speaking, we don't hear you. Okay, to be continued. Please come when you get on. This used to be by Shane. This is by Shane. The Gemara continues. A second line. Perhaps the Southern Shalbus, it says that they spread out a linen sheet in order to be a machitza when he's going to immerse on the roof of Beis Parva. Ma'aseh Shalbus. Why did they use a linen cloth to be a separation? In order that he should recognize that today's avodah is in linen. So I don't think the Kohen Gadol is going to forget. It's Yom Kippur. If he forgets that, he doesn't know anything. Also, just to point out that the Gemara said before that this is also, they spread out a linen cloth also the first time when he wore the big day Zahav. Also, so I think the point of the Gemara means to say that this is like a symbol of Yom Kippur. Besides the Kohen Gadol had the big day boots, but the linen for some reason symbolizes the Yom Kippur. Maybe it has to do like white kashel galbinu, that the sins are getting forgiven. So I don't think it's to remind him as much as that this is the symbol of Yom Kippur, the white clothing. We like today we wear kittel also. The point is that it's a symbol of white. So. But the word doesn't say that. The words of the Gemara
Why
are.
don't we wear white on Shavuos? We do on Pesach. We wear a kittel on Pesach. Why not Shavuos? It's supposed to be even higher.
I don't think it has to do with height. I think it has to do that it says you should wear nice clothing by Pesach, also by Yom Kippur, but the Siddur, but big day Yantiv by the Gemara continues. In the morning, the first time we went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so he wore Pelusim. We said Pelusim is a city in Egypt that's called Belusa. Some say Ramses. So that was 18 mana. And then the Mishnah said that 18 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon, and altogether 30. So the kasha comes up like very often. The Tana has to tell us the count. We know the count. 18 and 12 is 30. So how come the Mishnah had to sum it up for us? How come the fact that the Mishnah sums it up, it says that that's the main kpeda. The main kpeda would be that altogether should be worth 30 mana. And it says usually 18 and 12. But if you want to divide it differently, you want to make it less than 18, more than 12, you could adjust 18 and the 12. But altogether, it should be a cost of 30 mana. Rabbi would say 20, whatever Rabbi argues. But the point is the fact that the Mishnah, maybe Rabbi didn't sum it up, I don't know. But in Rabbanan, who sum it up to say 30, they come to say that it doesn't have to be the division of 18 and 12, as long as altogether it's 30. 3 lines up in the bottom.
What is this? Plissin?
From Ramses.
Oh, it's a special kind of cotton, right?
It's not cotton, it's linen.
Oh, it's a high quality.
Everybody holds that the morning has to be more expensive than the afternoon, which means Rabbi also. Rabbi holds 12 and 8, or Rabbanan say 18 and 12. And even if you're going to adjust it, you could adjust it, but you have to have that the morning clothing should be more expensive than the afternoon clothing. Again, the morning is when he's going to do the whole Avodah Shem Kippur, and the afternoon is going to be when he takes out the Kafel Machta. Minolan, where do you see that it has to be more expensive in the morning clothing than the afternoon clothing? Second change. So it says 4 times the word bad. That's the famous pasuk that it says, bad kodesh ulbosh, bad yol basaro, bad yachgo, bad yitznof. When it says in Parshas Achrimos that he should wear the 4 begadim, he doesn't wear the regular 8 begadim of the Kohen Gadol. He wears special 4, the ksones and the mechnasayim and the avnei and the mitznefes. All of them are made out of linen, and it says it 4 times. From that pasuk, you learn now the best of the bad. So I think the Pashup Pshat, but Taisus has a more a detailed pshat, but the simple pshat, the same way we had a couple of days already. Baboker means early morning. Yom Yom means late into the day. If it says something twice, so it means like the morning of the morning, extreme. So if it says bad, it's like saying the linen of the linen. Like we would say, like
This is 4 times
it says in 4 times.
in
So-
one person.
in one pasuk. Let's say that rest of the pasuk. Tell us about Kodesh Labash, about Joel Vasarua, about Jacob, about yourself. It says each one. It could have said one time. It could have said all these things should be made out of bad. Since it says it 4 times, so it means that it should be extreme, the linen of the linen. Of the linen. I mean, that it should be the best of the best. The best of the best. Taisus on the bottom, if anybody wants to look, the Taisus on the bottom has a different, more detailed shot, but this would be the simple shot. The Gemara is a kasha meisvei. We go to the next daf. Amud beis meisvei. V'lavshu begadim achirim. V'lo yikachu asam b'bigdei. This is a pasuk in Yecheskel. It says in the side Yecheskel 44. V'lavshu over there, it's talking about in the Lasat Lobo, and it talks something about the Kohanim changing their clothing. And the Gemara thinks that it's talking about Yom Kippur. Rashi has a drash to say a pshat why the Gemara thinks it's talking about Yom Kippur. And in the changing of the clothing over there, for some reason, also I don't know why the Gemara thinks that it's talking about better clothing. It says, "My love achirim chashuvin mehen." Doesn't when it says when it stresses they should put on other clothing? Doesn't it mean better clothing? And it means that according to that, the Gemara is going to dash that in Yom Kippur when he puts on the second set of clothing to take out the kafah mach, that has to be even more chashuv than the morning. So the Gemara says no, achirim chusin mehen. It doesn't mean better; it means less. So I don't understand why the Gemara thought that it's just as well to say better or less. And the Gemara said before you have to have less quality in the afternoon. So I don't know why the Gemara thought that it should be more quality, but the Gemara right away answers, no, it doesn't mean that, it means less. I had a thought that I just wanted to share, that the Gemara a couple of pages ago, about Chavdalit or so, the Gemara said, we had it a few times, we had it already 3 times, that the Gemara said, Tani Rabbi Shmuel, Begadim Sheb Bishol Ben Kos LaRabbo Lo, Yimzor Bo Kos LaRabbo, when a person comes to serve his master wine, he shouldn't use the same clothing that he used in the kitchen. And you have the kitchen clothing, I guess, and then you have the Chashava clothing. Over there, Rashi says the reason is because it gets dirty. That you're going to use the clothing in the kitchen. You come to serve your master, doesn't pass. You have to use different clothing. When you go to serve the master, you use one set of clothing. You go to, that's why they dash it from by the Hosea Sadesha and the Fashatis Begadav, Hosea Sadesha and when he takes out the corn and take out the dish, and even though it's a service also, but they're supposed to use inferior clothing. And Rashi says because it's going to get dirty from the Efer, from the ashes, and next time you're going to come to do Avodah, it's going to be dirty. I just want to point out that this Gemara seems to be a different take on it, because here, he used the begadim in the morning to do the avodah Yom Kippur. Then he's going to come in again second time to take out the kafu machta. If it gets dirty, he's not going to be using it again. It's not that this clothing is going to get dirty and the next time he uses it for the morning services, because once you use it, you don't use it again. The begadim of Yom Kippur is not to be used again, like it says, v'nicham sham, you don't use it again. So here it seems to say a different idea, a different concept that we didn't have till now. That you shouldn't each kind of service deserves its kind of clothing, not because it's going to get dirty and then it's not going to be fit to use when you're going to be serving him the meal, because this is a chashav avodah and this is a less chashav avodah. Each service has to have clothing that fits for the service that you're doing. You're doing a chashav avodah, do chashav clothing. You're doing a less chashav avodah, so then do less chashav clothing. Not because it's going to get dirty, because here, if it gets dirty, it's not going to affect the next time you're going to next Yom Kippur, because you're not going to use the same clothing again. So I just wanted to throw that out as an idea. That's a little different than Rashi. Rashi before said the reason is because it's going to get dirty. Here, it's not because it's going to get dirty. Okay, so the Gemara came out that the begadim of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, he wears 2 times white clothing, the different clothing, and the morning clothing is supposed to be more expensive. And Rabbanan say altogether it's going to be 30 mana, 18 and 12, but you could adjust that if you want to, as long as altogether it's 30 mana. The Gemara says on the 3rd line, Tani Rav Huna bar Yehuda, Amid Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda. They said over the following brisa. So Rashi says this whole brisa is talking about Yom Kippur, and the Kohen Gadol, after you finish the avodah sibur, Rashi says means the morning avodah, means the first white clothing that he wore, that he has to have mamish tziburi. It has to be, he could add on money like the Gemara said, but it has to be that the money is bought from the tzibur money. But if he's now coming to do avodah shachad, Rashi says avodah shachad means the hatzos kafu machta. Rashi has difficulty with this because it's not avodah shachad. He's doing it also for the tzibur. He's taking out the kafu machta from the kodesh HaKadoshim. You're not going to leave there the whole year. But it's not mamish an avodah. It is an avodah. We even had an issue before if the Zohar does it, it's chayiv misa or not. Avodah siluk is not chayiv misa. But Rashi says it's still called avodah shachad because it's not so chashuv. It's just to take out that it shouldn't remain there the whole year. But that the Kohen Gadol has a lot to do with the private clothing that his mother made for him. Even that it says that he has to give it over to the tzibur. It means he can't own it personally. He has to give it over to the tzibur, like I'm officially giving over to the tzibur, but his mother made it for him. Those are the words over here. After the Kohen Gadol finished the avodah tzibur, which would be the regular avodah of Yom Kippur.
Why do you say shachar? What's wrong with the avodah shel tzaraim and abayim?
We said that there are two.
For sure
We said before that there are two avodas that the Kohen Gadol does on Yom Kippur with the white clothing. One is the avodah in the morning, which is the whole seder avodah Yom Kippur, and the only thing he does later on, the white clothing, he changes gold, white, gold, white. So the second time he puts on the white is only to take out the kaful makta. There's nothing else that he does.
Even Ben Arbaim, the Talmid Shel Ben
Talmid Shel Ben Arbaim is going to be in gold. That's not on the white clothing. Only avodah Yom Kippur is in the white. That's why he's changing the whole time. He has we did that before a couple of pages ago. The morning first in the gold is the Talmid Shel Shachar, and then the white is going to be avodah Yom Kippur. The gold is going to be the Elo Ve'el Ha'am, which is Yom Kippur, but it's outside in the courtyard. And then the white is going to be to go to Kodesh HaKodeshim again to take out the white, take out the kaful makta. And then he goes into the gold clothing to do the Talmud and the Musaf. That's again with the gold clothing. He doesn't wear white clothing for that. So here, when we talk about white clothing over here that the Kohen Gadol uses, what the ksonos that his mother made for him. So avodah shachar, Rashi says, take out the kaful makta, and even that, it has to be given over. He can't own it. He can't continue owning it. He has to give it over to the tzibur. His mother made it for him. She made it personally, and she put a lot of work into it. Rashi before says that she shows how much she's most nefesh in order to make the godimu hudarim for the mitzvah. But it's going to get that he can do, but it comes out he only can do it when he's doing avodah shachar, when he's doing katsas kaful makta, but he wouldn't be able to do it for the morning. And for the morning avodah, it has to be mamash from the tzibur, and it's not so explained why. If the Gemara says right away pshita, if he's giving it over to the tzibur, so why? Of course he could do avodah. The Gemara doesn't ask, let him even do avodah tzibur. That it doesn't say. Take out the kaful makta. The Gemara says it goes without saying he's giving it over to the tzibur. The Gemara says you might think that it's not going to give it over wholeheartedly. You say I'm giving it over, but it doesn't mean it with all his heart, because after all, his mother made it and it cost a lot of money. You're not cautious for that. But even after that, you're only allowed to do avodah shachar. You're not allowed to do avodah tzibur. It comes out that even though they do give it over to the tzibur, that's only enough that he's allowed to do the taking out the kaful makta. But the avodah of the morning, regular avodah, it has to be that the tzibur gave him the clothing, not that he bought it from his own money. He could add on, like I said, Mosif. He could add on money, but it has to be mainly from the tzibur.
Why is kaful makta considered avodah yachid?
So Rashi says because it's only to clean out the Kodesh HaKodashim that it shouldn't remain over there. It's not called the yachid. Rashi's bothered. Rashi's whole shot is a chiddush, and he has to explain why is it called the yachid. Right away, the Gemara says that the Ma'aseh has to be given over to the tzibur because it's not called the yachid. It is. Rashi says so. If it is avodah tzibur.
Clean out the Kodesh HaKodashim, isn't that?
Yes, but so it is something communal, but it's not. So the word yachid according to Rashi is like a little bit loose. It doesn't mean exactly yachid. And just to point out a very big difficulty in this whole Gemara is that the same exact brayso, Kemat, word for word, was all quoted before on the Chaf Hey, and over there it's talking about a regular Kohen during the year, nothing to do with the Kohen Gadol. Over there it was talking about, if you remember, it was talking about when they do the pious, the first pious, the Trumas Hadeshin. So did the Kohen get dressed in the begadim before they did the pious or after? And the Gemara had machlokas over there, of Sheshes, maybe of Nachman, and it's sad that one of them said that you should not wear begadim because if they can have wearing begadim, then one of them is going to run up and get all excited and grab and think he's doing a big tzaddik, and he grabs that. And he has clothing already. So the Gemara is the kasha. So therefore, don't wear clothes. Don't give out the clothing until after the pious. The Gemara is the kasha from the brayso where they do the pious that it says that Mamuna takes off the hat of its nefesh of one of them. And that's where the count starts from. So the Gemara said he says bring its nefesh. It must be that as big dekuna. So the Gemara says no. It's this. Bring down this brayso that a mother could have made a ksonis. Over there, it could have made a set of big dekuna. So it's talking about a regular Kohen, nothing to do with the Kohen Gadol. According to Rashi, this brayso and the brayso later on, before it's talking about the regular Kohen. Did hear some of the Kohen Gadol? The brayso over there is much simpler. That it's talking about regular Kohen and. Avodah shachar means only a korban yachid, not a korban tzibur. Rashi here puts it into Yom Kippur, and avodah shachar means that's kaful makta. It's a bit complicated with Rashi's learning. Maybe there are those that learn that this brayso is also talking about a regular kohen, and there's a difference between a korban yachid and a korban tzibur. But that's what Rashi. Yes, please.
There's an amazing Ben Ish Chai here that might also reflect on your earlier question about the clothes of the day. He brings the Gemara from Makos, where it says over there that people who murdered B'Shogeg could go free from Irei Miklat if the Kohen Gadol died. So here, the Kohen Gadol's mother made him special clothes because Kasainis, as he brings from Yosef, the coat of many colors, Kesonis is makaper al shvichus damim. So the mother was giving the Kohen these clothes, like in Makkah, she was mistadel, so that her son wouldn't get killed for those who were goyla for shogeg murder, so that here there won't be shogeg murder, so it'll never come on to the fact that her son, they might be praying for her son to die. And the other thought I had was about the parva. I looked everywhere in the meantime. There's nobody that I can see that I found in Ein Yankov or Ben Ishai says anything about parva. But I remember in learning Musar from Rav Chaim Daval Tuski, Zechron Levracha, he used to say that we can only learn in our generation Mesiras Nefesh from the Michablim, because they're the only ones willing to give their lives to kill a Jew. So here, this goy, whatever his motivations were, he was willing to give up his life to get caught, to be maktor, to find out the magic or whatever of the Beis HaMikdash by making a tunnel underneath to try and get in there. So maybe that's why they named it after him, because he was teaching Mesiras Nefesh.
Okay, we don't know that he was giving up his life. It doesn't say what they did to him. I don't know. I don't know what the end of the story is that they found him. Okay, I don't know.
Killed him. They would have killed him if they found him, for sure.
Okay, Yesh Tekoach. The Gemara continues. Amr Allah, we're about, what is this? About 10 lines down. Amr Allah Rabbi Shmuel ben Piyabi, Shastalo Imo Sonish Almeya Mana, Velovsha, Ovid Bavodas Yachid, or Masrul Tzibor. They said about Rabbi Shmuel ben Piyabi, we had him a couple of times, he was a Kohen Gadol, that his mother made for him a Xonis of 100 mana. We had in the Mishnah so far, if you talk about him in Kippur, he was a Kohen Gadol. So it seems like Rashi, who says it's talking about a Kohen Gadol, here also probably is talking about Yom Kippur. And even though the Mishnah says that they gave him 30 mana, but and he could add on more. Here, he added on more. And his mother made him a Xonis of 100 mana. And he did Avodas Yachid. Just the point, and like he says, that Avodas Yachid, Rashi will say means that he did the Sos Kafu Machta, which is the second set of clothing. And of course, Master Tzibor, you have to give it over. He can't keep it for himself. He has to give it over to the Tzibor. And the question would be just to point out that Master Tzibor, no one's allowed to use it anymore. So I don't know what it means Master Tzibor. No one's, he can't use it. Nobody could use it. So I don't know what it means Master Tzibor. Also, just to point out, he says, I'm giving over the money that it's.
Why does he have to do it?
So that because it has to be tziburi, it's not allowed to be his private clothing. The Kohen Gadol's clothing has to be belong to the tzibur. That is understood. But here I'm just asking that there's no real significance to giving it over because nobody can use it anymore. If you hold that you're not allowed to use it anymore, even some hold you need geniza. So what's the difference? Is giving it over just for today? Okay, belongs to everybody. Okay, just to point out that this is the morning clothing and this is afternoon clothing. According to Rashi, that Avodas Yachid means that Sos Kafu Machta, so the morning clothing has to be more expensive. So even though it doesn't say, but you have to add on that here it says the afternoon clothing was 100 mana, but morning clothing had to have been more expensive. So even though they gave him the 30 mana and he got over there 18 out of it, he has to add on more, that it shouldn't be more than 100. According to what the Gemara says, the morning has to be more than afternoon, and it doesn't speak it out here. It just says that the Avodas Yachid was worth 100 mana. You have to say that the morning Avodah was even more than that. Another story, Amr Allah about Rabbi Elazar ben Charsam, which also seems to be a Kohen, maybe a Kohen Gadol, according to Rashi. Sha'asa Salo Imo Ksonis Pishtei Ribo. So a Ribo was 10,000, Shtei Ribo was 20,000. I would have thought that Gemara means 20,000 zuz, which would be like 200 mana, which would be double what happened before. But Rashi says that Shtei Ribo means 20,000 mana. So the numbers are getting astronomical. So his mother made him a Xonis, which was worth 20,000 mana. That it was so fine, the pishta, the linen was so fine that it was kamat see-through because of the fineness. So they didn't let him wear it. After all that money that he spent, that the Kohen didn't let him wear it because it looked like he was naked. He could see through it. The Gemara says, how could he see through it? It says that the threads were 6, each thread was spun of 6 strands. So it was not something which was so thin. But the Gemara says, yes, not that it was thin, but the Gemara's question was that how could he see through? There's threads over there, thick threads. So the Gemara says, Rashi says, Mizga means a glass cup. So glass by us nowadays is much transparent, but in those days it seems that it was a frosted glass. They weren't able to. So even that, the Gemara says, but even if you have a frosted glass, but you could tell the color, it's like translucent, even though you don't see mamish clear, but you do see the color. So that's like the Gemara's example. That's like we could see wine through a glass cup, not the glass of today, the glass of then, the frosted glass, and you can still see what color it is. So too, the color of the skin was able to be seen through, even though it wasn't mamish transparent, but it was translucent. So that was the story about the mothers that spent so much money in order to make Chashav a big day kuna. So we finished. The Gemara is going to continue now. I got it for the rest of the page, which is only because of Rabbi Elazar ben Charsam. So we have some stories about Divrei Torah, which comes in very nice day before Shavuos. a whole famous Gemara. Everyone knows the stories about the Mesiras Nefesh to learn Torah, but it only comes in Agav because of Rabbi Elazar ben Charson was going to be one of the stories. As far as Yom Kippur, we finished already, and the halachas that we learned today were that the morning clothing is supposed to be more expensive than the afternoon clothing. It changes. The white clothing that it wears 2 times, one for Avodah Yom Kippur and one for the Hatzas Kaful Machta. The morning one has to be more expensive, and it brought a drasha about bad. That means that's supposed to be more than the afternoon. And Machlokes Rav Meir and Rabbanan, if it was altogether 20, altogether 30, and Rabbanan we Pascal like altogether 30, they got 30 mana from the, I guess from the Trumas Lishka, from the Mashiach Lishka, whatever it was, and the regular division was 18 and 12. And the Gemara just explained why it's
As
called based
opposed
on
to
power.
20,000, that's the comparison.
No, the 20,000 was somebody that made extra. They want to make extra. They can make
I'm
extra.
just saying,
But
is
how much
it-
you got from the
how
Tzibur?
much you were talking about between 30, let's say, and
We just said 30. Altogether, they give him 30, and the usual division will be 18 and 12. If he wants to adjust that, he can adjust that also. The morning has to be more expensive, and if he wants to add on more money, he can add on more money also.
But in terms of getting it over the sewer, if we say that a Kohen headed during the rest of the year can wear before out of the age of the God of the Kohen Gadol,
Those machlokas between Rabbanan and Rabbi Dosa, that depends what the belt is made out of, and also Mal Makodesh Vein Moridin. So it seems to be passing that you're not allowed to. Now Rabbi Dosa said you could, but it seems to be passing you're not because someone was used to Yom Kippur, so you can't use it anymore, and they need Geniza.
so what did they do with this Geniza?
The Geniza, they put in Geniza, no one's allowed to use it. He one time. So most real Tzibur doesn't have so much significance. He gives over to the Tzibur, but he can't use it. Nobody could use it. So what's the most real Tzibur? Doesn't sound like such a kind of a significant
seems
giving
to be
over.
that there's, even though that it's not usable again, it still has to be Tziburi.
Yes, it's Tzibur. I'm just saying there's no big Mesiras Nefesh. If he say that you're not allowed to keep it, you have to give it over to the Tzibur. So then, if it's something which could be used again and again, and he can't hold it for his own private possession, but if it's anyway, it can be used by anybody. After you do the avoda, one time avoda, so then he takes out the kafel machta and the kodesh hakadoshim, and then he do geniza. So there's not so much significance in the fact that he gives it over because he can't use it, they can't use it. Okay, just to point out again and again that the Gemara and the Chavdal over there where I brought it down, it was talking about a regular Kohen, not about a Kohen Gadol. It might be possible to learn all these Gemaras also talking about a regular Kohen, not about, and make it much simpler. That avodah shachar doesn't have to mean the solas kafel machta, but I didn't look around to see if anybody says this pshat. But
I
Rashi.
think this might be, I mean, just just thinking aloud, is this idea of this very expensive garment which you see through. It could be a source for learning tznius by a woman's clothing.
Everyone says that it's not yeah. Everyone knows that it's not
I'm
covered.
saying
That he's
it's-
going to be
it could
near
be a
Oren.
source for all
Yeah,
kinds of
okay.
limud and what
They talk about the
what-
stockings. That the stockings is also considered the sheer stockings. They say
Right.
that it's considered visible. It's not considered covered. They talk about how many denier, how thick
Yeah.
it should be. That it shouldn't be considered see-through.
This is
So,
probably a source for that.
Okay, so those who do wear those kind of
Okay.
stockings, they're going to say that really under the knee, below the knee, is a lot of be seen, and it's just an extra cover that you don't even really need to cover. But if you hold that the shok is still the ankle, the way all the proofs say that the shok is not above the knee, the shok is until the ankle. So then the question is, how are they wearing
From the karsula to the ankle.
till the ankle, till the ankle?
That's-
Many-
that much space. We're talking about this amount.
Till the ankle, till the ankle. That means from the knee till the ankle is supposed to be covered. So then,
Oh,
then it
I was going
then
from the
it
bottom to
then it
top. You're
doesn't.
going from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, the what we call the shin calf. So that's the shok. So it's supposed to be covered. So then the stockings that are see-through is considered see-through. Tana Rabbanan. So the rest of it has nothing to do with Yom Kippur. It's only going to come in because of Elazar ben Charson. Tana Rabbanan. Ani vashe v'rasha b'aladin. 3 people, either a poor person or a rich person or a Russia that he did sins. So usually that we see that means with arayas. So they come to din, and the issue is going to be why they didn't learn Torah, not because of other issues, other various that they did, but they didn't learn Torah. So to a poor person, they're going to say, why didn't you learn Torah? He's going to say, because I was poor. I was too poor. I wasn't able to learn because I was busy getting my food. Were you more poor than Hillel? And Hillel was very poor, and still he was most never to learn Torah. You also could have learned. What was the story? Famous story. Every day he would work and earn a tarpek. Tarpek is a coin. Rashi tells us how much it is. Here's the Rashi. He says tarpek is a chatzi dinner. A chatzi zuz. So every day he would work and earn a tarpek. So half of it would go to entrance fee into the base medrash. It seems they had to have a shomer maybe where they talk about maybe it was outside in the fields and You couldn't leave it hefker. They had a shamash, a chazan knesses, and his salary was collected from the people who came to learn. So he had to pay it in order to get in. And so he used half of that for the shomer based on medrash, and half of it went for his sustenance and the sustenance of his household. One day he wasn't able to make enough money, and he couldn't get in. And the shomer didn't let him come in. So he went to the roof. Famous story. He went up and he hung. It doesn't mean he hung, but he was on top of the Aruba. Aruba is a skylight, and he was listening over there to the words that were saying in the Beis Medrash. They were darshaning in the Beis Medrash, and he couldn't go inside, so he listened from outside. In the order to words, the Divrei Elokim Chaim, the words of the living God.
Aruba. It means like
Aruba is the opening. Aruba is a skylight.
Oh, it is.
And nowadays, they make a skylight and make it together with glass. I don't know if that glass in those days. I don't know. I don't know how they made it in those days, but it was a hole in the ceiling that light should be able to come through. Nowadays, we don't use Aruba too much because we have electric lights, but usually on the top floor of this with the roofs, but they do make a skylight. So I don't know if it had a glass covering or not. I don't know. Amru Osai Yom Erev Shabbos. That day was Erev Shabbos with Kufas Tevis. That was in the winter. The Yorad Allah get Shelag Ben Hashemayim. It started snowing. Kishallah Amud Shachar Amud Loshmai Laftalion Naftalion Achi B'Chol Yom Abayis Meir V'Yom Afel Shem Yom Amunanu. So Shmai Naftalion, they were sitting and they saw that it's darker than usual. Shmai said at Naftalion that every day it's not light. Today it's dark. Is it because it's a cloudy day? I don't understand because we said that it was snowing. So I don't know what it means. Maybe it's a cloudy day. Unless they were inside and they didn't realize. Maybe they. I don't know what happened. I don't know when it started snowing or when the hill gets stuck.
It is true that sometimes when it snows, there's a lot of light in it because the white reflects.
Okay, but we're going to see that. We're going to see right away in one line. It's going to say there was it was like 3 amos. It was like 1.5 meters of snow. So I don't know exactly. Maybe that's the winds brought it onto that Aruba, but it seems that there was 1.5 meters of snow on top of Hillel. So how did they not see? Like it's pitch black then. I don't get the exactly. Hitzitu Einain V'Ro B'Demus Adam Baruba. They looked up and they saw the image of a person in the skylight. Alu Matsu Allah Rum Shalosh Amos Shalak. They found on top of him the height of 3 amos of snow. Parku V'Chitzu V'Sichu V'Shivu Kineged Amadua. They unloaded all the snow from him and they washed him and they anointed him and they put him opposite the fireplace. Amru Roizel L'Chalalav Shabbos. They said that this person is worthy to be Mechal Shabbos. Of course, Mechal Shabbos in any Jew if he's B'Sakana. But they said that this was
Shabbos.
It says it was Erev Shabbos. That's what it says. The first white line, Erev Shabbos, and it became Friday night. So this was Shabbos morning, and they said that it was dark, and they were Mechal Shabbos to make a fire to heat him up. So, of course, every Jew is Mechal Shabbos, but it says this person, we see his worthiness. So what do you see? That Hill was Moshe Nefesh, even though he was poor, he was Moshe Nefesh in order to learn Torah. So if a poor person comes and says he wasn't able to, Hashem will show him, the Bezdin will say that you were able to, Hill was able to, you also would have been able to. Ashir, next story. Ashir Omamlo with Nemalo Sakta Torah. A rich person is going to come and he didn't learn Torah. They're going to say, why didn't you learn Torah? He's going to say, I was rich and I was busy with my estate. I had to be engaged in my business. I wasn't able to have time for learning. They're going to tell him, this is what Rabbi Elazar ben Charson. We'll see one in the same line. So this is the problem comes in because the story before about Rabbi Elazar ben Charson was the Kohen Gadol that his mother made the 20,000 zuz or mana of the Ksonis. So it's the same person. That's why the story comes in. So are you richer than him? What do they say? They say about him. He had 1,000 cities. His father left a bequeath to him 1,000 cities on the dry land and 1,000 boats in the sea. So astronomically rich. And every day he would take a node, some kind of flask of flour on the shoulder, and go from city to city and from county to county to learn Torah. He would go to learn Torah from different chachamim, and he ignored all of his wealth. Wow. That's the story to say that, of course, you're not asking to be so extreme like him, but it means even a rich person has to take off time from his business in order to learn Torah. He gave up all his business in order to be able to learn Torah. One time his own servants, they found him and they didn't realize who he is. He's the boss. And they made him work. And Rashi says that everybody had to work. Everybody who was they lived in a city, so they had responsibilities to the city. Sometimes taxes is money, sometimes taxes is work. So they had to work, and they thought that he's a commoner and a resident, so he had to work. And he didn't tell them who he is. I don't know why he didn't tell them who he is. I guess they wouldn't believe him. In another place, the Gemara says a similar story by Rabbi Tarfon. Over there, it says you don't want to be none of covered Torah, even though it's not covered Torah. It's not that he's not saying that I'm the Rabbi Tarfon. He's saying that I'm the owner, I'm the boss. but I don't know. I don't
I
know.
would say, I would think if they were the Anshe Gassim, and
They wouldn't have believed him.
The Nani wouldn't believe him. They would have ridiculed him and made him work double as hard.
Okay. He said, please.
Griya means work. Angriya means work.
Yeah. So here Rashi says, Avodas. Here Rashi says, Avodas Sarvaya. It's the work of the governor. So you have to work for the governor. And Rashi points out that he was the governor. Avodas Asma, he was working for himself, but they didn't know who he was. They thought that he was Tama resident, and they have to do the work of the landowner. So he didn't say who he was or whatever reason, but he said, "Please leave me that I should be able to go to learn Torah." It doesn't say at the end of the story. Amru lo. Oh no, the end of the story was they didn't believe him. Amru lo. No, they did believe. They didn't let him go, and they swore by the life of Elazar ben Charson. He didn't say he didn't say who he was. He's Elazar ben Charson. We swear by the life of Elazar ben Charson, we're not going to leave you to go. So what ended of the story was, I guess, that he worked over there for the day, and then he got out, and he went home, and he didn't go. I don't know. But what do you see? That he ignored all of his estate in order to be able to learn Torah. He never went to see all of those cities. He had 1,000 cities, 1,000 boats. He never even went to see it. He constantly learned Torah. So that if somebody comes to Bezdin Shalmala and he says, I didn't have time to learn because I was busy with my money, they say you should have had time. You have Lezman Chazam found time, you also can find time. And the third thing is Russia. Russia means a person who's engaged with his Yetzer Hara for Averis. And Averis means usually is Nus. How come you didn't learn Torah? So whatever the Averis are, if you did Averis, if you didn't do the Averis, that's another issue. But why didn't you learn Torah? If he's going to say because I was beautiful and I was busy with my Yetzer Hara. So I don't know what he's doing exactly. He's doing the Averis. He's saying that I was busy doing Averis. That's why I had no time. That's the that's
He
that,
believed,
that
he
his excuse.
believed in his banal thinking patterns.
I'm not following.
He held by these things as important, even though he's a Russian.
He came to Shemaim now and he's asking him, why didn't you learn Torah? So he's trying to find an excuse. So he says, because I was busy doing Averis.
Right, so he this is my Yetzer Hara. I know it's my Yetzer Hara.
So what's he saying? That's why I didn't learn.
Yeah, well, so the rich man says, I know I'm putting my time into the work.
Yeah,
Everybody's
so
got a reason
couldn't.
why he's
So,
thinking.
okay, so he was literally on Averis. This person, he was doing Averis. That's why I had no time to learn.
I mean, it's a lie.
It was too, his Yetzer Hara was
He doesn't-
preoccupied. It was hard for him to fight his Yetzer Hara. I think that's what he's saying.
So he was fighting his. So how do you fight the Yetzer Hara besides learning? The Gemara says if the Yetzer Hara is bothering somebody, the best way to fight him is to go to the Beis Medrash. What is he doing fighting the Yetzer Hara, not learning? How do you do that? How do you fight with him? What do you do? The only way the Gemara says is to go take him to the Beis Medrash, and over there, that's the way to fight with him.
But
He's
a
staying
Russian.
home,
But
or it
he's a
just means.
Russian. That's the problem. He's a Russian. He doesn't
Okay.
have that. He doesn't have that vision.
So let's see what it says. So in Bezdin, they're going to tell him, were you more beautiful than Yosef? And the wife of Potiphar gave him a hard time, and he was able to withstand. Every day while he was under Potiphar, so every day the wife of Potiphar was trying to convince him. She changed clothing constantly in order to beautify herself. Not only once a day, she changed twice a day. In the morning, she put on one. This sounds a little bit like the Kohen Gadol, change of clothing. That one set of clothing in the morning, another set of clothing in the afternoon.
Like the ladies that go to the hotels for young.
They have to have a few changes. Each meal, a different change of clothing. So here she was trying to seduce him. So every time she put on a different set of clothing. She said, listen to me. Listen to me means faznus. Agree to me. He said no. He didn't want. I'm gonna imprison you in prison. She had power over him. She was the wife of Potiphar. If you don't listen to me, I'm going to put you in jail. He was already in jail, but he wasn't in jail. I'm sorry, he wasn't in jail at that point. This is before the whole story of Vaishas Potiphar. So I'm going to put you in the jail. So he said, Hashem is able to loosen. What's the word? Matir, to untie those that are tied. Release those that are tied. I'm going to bend your height. Hashem erects those that are bent. I'm going to blind you. Hashem opens up the blind. She get lishma Allah. She even gave him 1,000 talents of silver. They take out the gist of the next couple of words. They take out those words that she was trying to. She gave him all kind of money in order to convince him, but still, the pasuk says he didn't want to. The pasuk says he didn't agree to align with her, to be with her. And the Gemara says in Rashi that that would have been his partner in Olam Haba also. If somebody is Nishal in an Avera, so then that's going to be in place in Olam Haba also. So he didn't want that to be his partner. So not to be in this world and not to be in the world to come. So what do you see? That Yosef was able to overcome his Yetzer Hara. Going back to the issue over here, the question was, why did somebody not learn Torah? He says, I was busy with my Yetzer Hara. So they say, Yosef did it, why couldn't you? I don't see in the story that Yosef was learning Torah. It doesn't say. The point of the story doesn't say Yosef was learning Torah. You do see that Yosef was successful in overcoming his Yetzer Hara, but you don't see anything about learning Torah. So I don't really have a pshat. If anybody does, Chaim David was saying the point was, if he, I'm not sure if Chaim David said it, but that the point was that he didn't give in to his Yetzer Hara. That's what you do see. What Yosef didn't give. If he didn't give in this Yetzer Hara, so then he would have had time to learn. So then, what would the pshat be? That he was doing Averis. The person says, it's true, I didn't learn, but that was because I was doing Averis. Isn't he going to get punished for the Averis alone? I mean, it's a little strange. Other ones, I'm rich, I'm poor, but here, I'm busy doing Averis. And you ask me why I'm not learning? Because I was. So maybe he means to say, if I get punished for doing the Averis, one thing, but you also have time is why I'm not learning. So what's the answer? We saw that Yosef, he was not Nechel in Avera. I'm not sure. I don't have a handle on this last story, what the issue was, what the taina was, and what the proof from Yosef is. But that's the summary of the whole Gemara, first line. So Hillel is going to make guilty. He's going to be the source of guilt to the poor, because if Hillel did it, then anybody could do it. Of course, Hillel did it on Moshe's more extreme Chasidus, but everybody, even the poor people, they could learn something. And if he obligates he makes guilty the rich, because they also should find time to stop their business and be able to learn. And Yosef that he was able to overcome his Yetzer Hara, so you too should overcome Yetzer Hara, and they'll be able to learn Torah. Okay, so we have introduction to Shavuos, the importance of learning Torah, rich and poor, and Yetzer Hara. Everybody should be able to learn Torah. So tonight, Bez Hashem, everyone should have a good Shavuos, a Chag Sameach. So if it could be a little bit earlier, because
I would prefer.
so 11:30 if that's possible. 11:30 to 12:30.
11:15 to 12:15.
And where will
What's
that
that?
be?
That's way too much. I wouldn't be open. But 11:30. So I imagine in Yeshiva Shabbat Kiva will be
Yeah,
open.
right here.
So 11:30 to 12:30, Bez Hashem Daf Yomi.
Thank you.
Try to explain it.
That's tomorrow morning.
That's tonight. That's tonight. And tomorrow night after Yontif, there's no shir.
There's no shir.
Today we had today's daf, and tonight will be tonight.
11 p.m.
Uh,
Yeah.
12:30, 11:30 p.m. until 12:30 a.m.
But what do I do?
saying-
I'm not allowed in because of the fascism of anti people who aren't vaccinated. What do I do?
So Rabbi Gold is the address. He's the boss.
No,
And-
handle that at the last minute.
Okay, so what can we do? It's easy. You could say that. You could say the daf, Rabbi Manuel.
The door will be open.
You have a sky? Do you have a skylight that I can sit on top of the room?
Chaim David says that in the hallway we could open up the door and
We open up the door.
we'll
and
bring a
sit on
stand-
the
we'll bring a
chair,
stand there.
ask permission
we'll
from
make a light
everybody.
over there. We'll make some light from
It doesn't need
inside.
a light, it just needs to live.
Hillel was just Machayevli. And now you're taking away my Efsharut L'Kayim.
Okay, we have to find a skylight and stuff. Okay. Yashikach, everybody. Thank you. Chag Sameach, everybody. It should be a lichtige Chag, and Hashem should give everybody a shafa of Torah and bracha. Am Yisrael should have Yeshua, and Hashem should watch over everybody. Nobody should be hurt, and we should see the Gula Shlema, the Nikama against all the Goyim, and Am Yisrael should have the Yeshua.
Amen. And Hashem
Amen.
should protect the vaccinated from side effects.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Chag Sameach. Kol Tov.
I just wanted to say one thing, that each of the three are in a space of that place where they are not comfortable to do the maximum, or to go a step above the norm, or the comfort zone, some people call it. The poor man says, so poor, I can't do, I can't do, I can't do. And it's not an excuse, as we see in the conclusion. The rich man says, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy.
Yeah, everybody has
And-
difficulty.
And the
Everybody-
Rasha is with his Yetzer, and he says, I
He's
can't
also
stop
busy.
being every day my Yetzer. That's the common thread between all three.
Yeah.
And each one, Hashem shows that in all of that, all three, there is somebody